I was curled up on the bathroom floor, the cold tiles pressed against my cheek. My breath hitched in my chest. Each inhale was a sharp, splitting pain. I was gasping, not just for air, but for an end to the agony. My ribs felt like they were ripping apart from the inside. They were. Then I heard her. My mother. Her voice was a low, urgent hiss. It cut through the pain, through the fog in my head. It came from right outside the locked bathroom door. "Stay quiet," she said. Her voice was flat. Hard. Not a plea. A command. "You'll ruin his future." That was the exact moment. The one where everything shattered. Not just my ribs. Something inside me. Something I had held on to for 27 years. Hope. Loyalty. Family. It all broke. Before we dive in, if this story resonates with you, please consider subscribing to the channel and sharing this video. It really helps me grow and reach more people. I also love seeing how far this story travels. So drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. I realized it then with startling clarity. I didn't have a family. Not really. I never had. All I had were witnesses. Witnesses to my pain. And they were choosing to look away. They were choosing to protect him. Not me. Never me. My name is Sarah Evans. I'm 27 years old. I live in Indianapolis, Indiana. Or I did. I lived in that house with them until that night. My parents are Karen and David Evans. They have 2 children. Me and my brother Ryan. He is younger than me by 2 years. But he was always the first. The first in their eyes. The only one that truly mattered. Our house wasn't just a home. It was a shrine. A shrine to Ryan. Every single wall. Every surface. Every conversation was about him. He was the star athlete. The golden boy. He played baseball. He had a golden arm. Everyone said so. My parents said it most often. I remember the living room. The mantelpiece above the fireplace. It should have been for family photos. For memories. But it wasn't. It was covered. Draped. Filled with Ryan's trophies. Shiny gold figures of baseball players. Engraved plaques. He had so many. They gleamed under the soft lamplight. Each one a testament to his greatness. Each one a reminder of my own absence. The fridge was another example. It wasn't for family meals. Not really. It was for Ryan's diet. Special. Protein shakes. Lean meats. Specific vegetables. All measured. All tracked. My mother made sure of it. She cooked his meals separately. Always. She packed his lunches. She monitored his snacks. His performance was everything. His body was a machine. It had to be fueled just right. Dinner conversations were the worst. We would sit at the large oak table. My father at one end, my mother at the other, Ryan and I on the sides. But the talk never flowed between all of us. It flowed to Ryan. It revolved around him. His games. His practices. His coach's comments. His scholarship chances. His future. Ryan hit another home run today. Didn't you? Sweetie, my mother would beam. Coach said I was on fire. Ryan would grunt. Mouthful. That's my boy. My father would nod. A proud smile on his face. I would sit there eating my food. Sometimes I would try to offer something. A comment about my day. Something I learned in my art class. A small achievement. I got an A on my history paper. I might say softly. My mother would absent-mindedly say, "That's nice, dear," without looking up from Ryan. My father would just keep talking to Ryan about his pitching form. I was invisible. That's the simplest way to put it. I was just there. A shadow. A ghost. I breathed their air. I ate their food. But I wasn't seen. I wasn't heard. My needs didn't matter. My feelings were irrelevant. Only Ryan. Always Ryan. His temper was famous. Well, famous in our house. Outside, he was charming. He smiled. He joked. He was the golden boy. The future. But inside, he was a storm. A hurricane waiting to happen. Little things would set him off. A bad call in a game. A disagreement with a friend. My parents would just smooth it over. Make excuses. He's under a lot of pressure. Boys will be boys. He's just passionate. I learned early. Don't upset Ryan. Don't question Ryan. Don't even look at Ryan the wrong way. His anger was a physical thing. It filled the room. It choked the air. I saw it often. The way his jaw would clench. His eyes would narrow. The subtle shift in his posture. That was my warning. Time to disappear. To become even more invisible. My parents enabled it. They didn't just ignore it. They actively made space for it. They built a world around Ryan where his emotions were the only ones that mattered. His anger was justified. His frustration was understandable. My pain. My fear. My quiet existence. Those were just background noise. Unimportant. Distracting. I remember one time when I was about 15. Ryan was 13. He had a really bad game. Struck out 3 times. He came home. Slammed the front door so hard the glass rattled. My mother immediately went to him. "It's okay, sweetie. You'll get him next time." He pushed past her. Ran upstairs. We heard crashes. Things breaking. I knew he was in his room breaking things. It was a common occurrence. My father just sighed. He's just blowing off steam. I wanted to ask. What about the things he's breaking? What about the fear I feel? But I didn't. I couldn't. I just sat there, my stomach tight with dread. That's how it always was. My fear was less important than his need to blow off steam. This was our family dynamic. A constant, suffocating imbalance. A relentless focus on one person. A complete eraser of another. I learned to live in that erasure. To accept it. To even believe it was normal. To believe I was the problem. If only I was more like Ryan. If only I was better. If only I was worthy of their attention. Their praise. Their love. But I wasn't. And I never would be. Not as long as Ryan was there. I knew the signs. I had known them for years. They were etched into the very fabric of our house. Into my own skin. Ryan's moods. They weren't just moods. They were tremors. Earthquakes. They would start small. A grunt. A slammed door. Then they would escalate. Things would break. Walls would dent. His bedroom wall was a canvas of his rage. Patches of spackle. Fresh paint covering old holes. Then new holes. Again and again. My parents would sigh. My mother would call a handyman. Or my father would patch it up himself. Never a question. Never a consequence. Just a quiet repair. As if the house itself was meant to absorb his anger. Not him. His girlfriends. I saw their fear. It was subtle at first. A nervous laugh when he snapped at them. A quick glance at me. A silent plea for understanding. Then it would grow. They would become quieter. Their smiles would fade. They would start to walk on eggshells around him just like I did. One girl, Jessica. She was sweet. She genuinely liked me. We would talk sometimes when Ryan was out. She once had a bruise on her arm. A faint purplish mark. She said she bumped into a door. I didn't believe her. I looked into her eyes. They were wide. Frightened. I wanted to ask her. I wanted to tell her to leave him. To run. But I couldn't. The words stuck in my throat. I knew what would happen if I interfered. If I broke the silence, the consequences for me would be severe. My parents would be furious. And Ryan. Ryan would be worse. So, I stayed quiet. I watched. I learned. My family taught me that silence was loyalty. It was protection. It was love. If you truly loved someone, you didn't speak ill of them. You didn't expose their flaws, especially if that someone was Ryan. My parents were masters of this. They had perfected the art of selective blindness, of convenient deafness. My mother, Karen, was the main enforcer of this. Her entire identity was tied to Ryan's success, his image. She molded him, nurtured him, protected him from anything that might tarnish that image. And that included the truth of his temper. My father David went along with it. He was quieter, more detached, but his silence was just as loud. He provided the money, the stability, the cover. He was the one who would drive Ryan to his games, the one who would sit in the stands, roaring louder than anyone. His son was his pride, his legacy. Nothing could threaten that. Not even his daughter. I remember one time when I was about 20. Ryan was 18. He had just started college. Still playing baseball. He came home for a weekend. He was drinking heavily with his friends. They were loud, obnoxious. I was trying to study for a final exam. I asked him gently if they could keep it down a little. He exploded. He called me names. He threw a beer bottle at the wall right above my head. It shattered. Glass flew everywhere. I froze. Tears welled up. My mother rushed in. She didn't look at me. She didn't ask if I was okay. She didn't scold Ryan. She went straight to him. "Ryan, darling, please. You're upsetting Sarah. She's just stressed with exams. Let's just go to your room." She steered him away. Then she came back. Looked at the broken glass. I looked at me. "Sarah, why do you have to provoke him? You know how he gets. Just go to your room. We'll clean this up." I was the one being blamed for his outburst, for his destruction, for my own fear. It was always like that. The blame was twisted. It always landed on me or on the circumstances. Never on Ryan. I learned to anticipate his moods, to read the eye air, to know when to retreat, when to make myself smaller, when to become completely invisible. I would spend hours in my room reading, drawing, anything to escape the tension that permeated the house whenever Ryan was home. It felt like living in a pressure cooker, always on the verge of exploding. I convinced myself it was normal, that all families were like this. That this was how you showed love. By sacrificing your own well-being for the good of the family, for the good of the golden child. I thought that if I was good enough, quiet enough, obedient enough, maybe, just maybe, I would earn their love. A small piece of it. A crumb. I desperately wanted to be loved, to be seen, to be important to them just once. So, I kept my mouth shut about the dents in the walls, about the fear in his girlfriend's eyes, about the way his moods poisoned every room, about the small cuts and bruises I sometimes got when he would shove me or push me in a fit of rage. Always accidentally. I believed that one day my silence would be rewarded. One day they would look at me and finally see me. See my patience. See my loyalty. See my love for them. I longed for that day. I yearned for it. I lived for it. Each quiet breath I took, each word I swallowed, each painful moment I endured was a small offering. A sacrifice on the altar of my family's peace. A peace built on my silence. A peace built on my pain. I was wrong. So wrong. My silence didn't earn their love. It only ensured my invisibility. It only paved the way for more pain. The air was heavy that night. Heavy with disappointment. Heavy with the smell of beer. It was late. Past midnight. I was in the kitchen getting a glass of water. The house was usually quiet by then. But not tonight. Ryan had lost a big game. A crucial game. The regional championship. His team had been favored to win. Everyone had expected them to win. And they hadn't. He had choked. Made a critical error. The last pitch. He'd thrown it wide. Lost the game. He stormed in through the back door. It crashed open. Slammed against the wall. The sound echoed through the silent house. He reeked of beer. The heavy sour smell filled the kitchen instantly. His face was dark. Twisted. His eyes were red-rimmed. Wild. He was breathing hard. Each breath was a growl. I knew. I felt it. That familiar dread. That tightening in my stomach. I wanted to shrink. To disappear. But I was already there. Standing in the harsh kitchen light. He saw me. His gaze locked onto mine. It was an animalistic stare. Full of rage. Of self-loathing. He had to blame someone. Anyone. You're still up. He snarled. His voice was thick with alcohol and fury. I tried to be calm. To soothe him. Like I always did. Like I had been trained to do. Hey! Ryan. Rough game. Huh? I tried to sound light. Unbothered. He took a step towards me. His hands clenched into fists. Rough game. I lost the damn game. Sarah. I blew it. Everyone's going to hate me. No? They won't. I said. My voice barely a whisper. It was just one game. You'll get them next time. My words seemed to ignite something in him. A spark into a flame. He was already a powder keg. I had just lit the fuse. Just one game. Just one game. You don't know anything. Do you? You don't care. You never cared. He was shouting now. His face was inches from mine. Spittle flew from his mouth. His breath was hot. Foul. I flinched. Tried to back away. But he was too fast. He snapped. It happened so quickly. One moment he was shouting. The next, his hands were on me. He grabbed my shoulders. His grip was like iron. He shoved me backwards hard. I stumbled. My feet tangled. I lost my balance. My head whipped back. I saw the gleam of the granite countertop. Too late. My back hit the edge of the counter. A sickening thud. The impact stole my breath. A sharp, searing pain exploded in my ribs. It felt like a crack. A tear. I cried out. A high, thin sound. More a gasp than a scream. I crumpled to the floor. The pain was immediate. Overwhelming. My lungs seized. I couldn't breathe. I lay there gasping, trying to pull in air. Each shallow breath was a knife twisting in my side. But he wasn't done. Not yet. He stood over me, his chest heaving, his eyes blazing. He kicked me once hard in my side, right where I had hit the counter, right where the pain was already screaming. A new, sharper pain ripped through me. I heard it, felt it. A sickening crack like dry wood splitting my ribs. They were breaking. I knew it. I felt it deep in my bones. I gasped. A strangled animal sound. Tears streamed down my face. Hot and salty. My body seized up. I couldn't move. Couldn't speak. Couldn't even breathe properly. I lay on the cold kitchen floor. Helpless. Broken. My vision swam. Black spots danced at the edges. My ears rang. The world narrowed to the agony in my chest. Each heartbeat sent fresh waves of pain through my body. Then I heard footsteps. Light. Quick. My mother, Karen. She had been woken by the commotion. By Ryan's shouts. By the sound of me hitting the counter. She rushed into the kitchen. I looked up through blurry eyes. I expected horror. Concern. Help. What I saw was something else. Panic. But not for me. For him. She went straight to Ryan. Grabbed his arm. Her voice was low. Urgent. Ryan. What have you done? Your father will kill you. She didn't even look at me. Not really. Just a quick dismissive glance at my prone, gasping form. Then she knelt beside me. Not to comfort me. Not to check my injuries. But to whisper. Her face was close to mine. Her breath smelled like sleep. Not concern. Not love. Just cold. Calculating fear. Sarah, she hissed. Her voice was barely audible. Fierce. Say you tripped. Say you fell down the stairs. You tripped. Understand? My own mother standing over her injured child. Not asking if I was okay. Not calling for help. Not condemning the person who had done this. But concocting a lie. A cover-up to protect him. To protect his future. To protect them. I lay there broken. Beaten. And betrayed. The pain was immense. But the betrayal was worse. It was a cold, sharp stab to my soul. It was the final nail in the coffin of my belief in my family. In their love for me. It was the moment my world truly ended. The drive to urgent care was a blur of pain and muffled sounds. My father, David, was driving. He had been woken by my mother's frantic whispers and the sight of me gasping on the kitchen floor. He didn't rage at Ryan. He didn't comfort me. He just looked grim, determined. My mother sat beside me in the back seat. She held my hand. But it wasn't a comforting grip. It was a tight, possessive hold. A warning. Every bump in the road sent fresh jolts of agony through my chest. I couldn't lean back. Couldn't sit up straight. I was twisted, hunched over, trying to protect my broken ribs. "Are you listening?" "Sarah?" my father said. His voice flat, devoid of emotion, cutting through the pain. He spoke without looking at me. His eyes were fixed on the road ahead. I tried to nod. A tiny movement. Even that sent a jolt of pain. "You fell down the stairs," he continued. His voice was steady, unwavering, practiced. "That's what happened. You tripped in the dark. Lost your footing. Understand?" My mother squeezed my hand. Her nails dug into my skin. A small, sharp reminder. I couldn't speak. My throat felt tight. My chest burned. Each breath was a struggle. So I made a small sound, a barely audible whimper, a sign of compliance, a sign of my utter defeat. "Good," my father said as if I had spoken, clearly. "That's what you'll tell them. The doctors, the nurses, anyone who asks. You fell down the stairs." I lay there, my body screaming in protest. My mind, numb with shock and pain, could only process one thing. This was it. This was their decision. Ryan's future, his image, his career. It meant more than my broken body, more than my pain, more than my very life. The emergency room was cold, bright, harsh. The lights overhead seemed to magnify my pain. The sounds were distant. Voices. Footsteps. The squeak of gurney wheels. It was all a faraway echo. They wheeled me in. My parents were there hovering. My mother speaking in hushed, urgent tones to the registration desk. My father standing a little apart, arms crossed, a stern look on his face. A nurse came. She was kind. Her voice was soft. She asked me questions. "What happened?" "Honey?" My mother was right there. Her eyes on me. A silent threat. I opened my mouth. The words were difficult. Each one felt like it was tearing something inside me. I fell down the stairs. I whispered. My voice was thin, barely there. The nurse nodded. Her expression didn't change. Not outwardly, but I saw something. A flicker in her eyes. A hint of doubt, Or maybe I imagined it. I hoped I imagined it. I just wanted this to be over. I wanted the pain to stop. I wanted to disappear. They took X-rays. The technician was careful. Gentle. But moving me was agony. Each adjustment sent a fresh wave of nausea through me. I squeezed my eyes shut, biting back a cry. My parents waited outside the curtain. I could hear their murmurs. Ryan's name. His future. It was always about him. Even now. Even when I was lying there, physically broken. Because of him, the doctor came in. He was a man with kind eyes, graying hair. He introduced himself. I barely registered his name. He spoke softly, told me what the X-rays showed. You have 3 fractured ribs, Sarah. That's a very painful injury. We're going to give you something for the pain. Relief washed over me. A tiny, fragile wave. Painkillers. Finally. He continued. And we need to keep you here for observation for a little while. Just to make sure there are no internal complications. I just nodded. I didn't care. I just wanted the pain to stop. I wanted to sleep. To escape. My parents were informed. They didn't protest the observation. They just looked resigned. My mother squeezed my hand again. Her voice was still low. Urgent. Remember what we talked about? Sarah, you fell. I nodded again. I was too broken to resist. Too tired. Too defeated. What was the point? They had already made their choice. They had already sealed my fate. My role was to lie. To cover up. To protect the person who had hurt me. Because that person was Ryan. And Ryan was everything. And I was nothing. In that hospital bed pumped full of painkillers, the world felt distant. The pain dulled. But the ache in my heart didn't. The knowledge that my own family would choose a lie over my well-being, their son's image over my safety, was a wound deeper than any fractured rib. For them, Ryan's career, his golden arm, his future meant more than my life, more than my truth. And in that moment, I believed them. I truly believed I was worth less. Worthless. The next morning, the world was still hazy. The painkillers helped. But the deep throbbing ache in my chest was a constant presence. My parents had gone home. They said they would be back later. Was alone. A nurse had just changed my IV bag. The room was quiet. Then she came in. Doctor. Emily Ross. She was younger than the first doctor. Her hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail. Her eyes were warm, kind, but also sharp, observant. She had a file in her hand. She smiled at me. A real smile. Not the strained, professional kind. Good morning, Sarah, she said. her voice soft but clear. I'm Dr. Ross. I'm taking over your case this morning. I managed a small, weak smile in return. My lips felt dry. She pulled up a chair beside my bed. Sat down. She didn't rush. She just sat there for a moment looking at me. Not just at my chart. Not just at my injuries. At me. It was an unsettling feeling. Being truly seen. I hadn't realized how long it had been. How are you feeling this morning? She asked. Better. I whispered. The pain medication was working. She nodded. Good. We're going to keep you on the pain meds for a bit. Those are pretty significant fractures. She picked up my chart. Flipped through it. Her gaze was still focused. But now on the papers. I've read your report. You said you fell down the stairs. Correct? I hesitated. My heart thumped against my sore ribs. A sudden fear. My mother's voice. My father's command. You fell down the stairs. That's what you'll tell them. I swallowed hard. Yes, I said. My voice was shaky. She closed the chart, placed it back on the bedside table. Then she looked directly at me again. Her eyes were unwavering, gentle, but firm. Sarah, she began. Her voice dropped slightly, became even softer. I've seen a lot of injuries, and I've seen a lot of people who have fallen downstairs. She paused, took a breath. The bruising pattern on your back and side. The nature of these fractures. They're not entirely consistent with a typical fall down a flight of stairs. My breath hitched. My eyes widened. She knew or she suspected the truth. It was hanging in the air. Exposed. A wave of fear. Cold and sharp. Washed over me. What if my parents found out I hadn't lied well enough? What if the doctor told them? What would happen then? Dr. Ross must have seen the fear in my eyes. She reached out, gently placed her hand on my arm. Her touch was warm, reassuring, not like my mother's tight grip. Sarah, she said again. Her voice was full of compassion. Did someone do this to you? I need you to be honest with me. I shook my head. A quick, jerky movement. No. No. I couldn't. I couldn't betray them. Even after what they had done to me. Even after they had betrayed me. It's okay. Sarah, she continued. Her voice steady. You don't have to be afraid here. This is a safe place. But I need to know the truth because if someone hurt you, I have a duty. I'm what's called a mandated reporter. That means if I suspect abuse, especially domestic abuse, I have to report it. It's the law. A mandated reporter. The words swam in my head. I had heard them before on TV. In health class. They meant she had to tell if I told her. My mind raced. All the years of silence, All the pain. All the times I had swallowed my words. All the times I had protected him. Protected them. What had it gotten me? Fractured ribs. A mother telling me to lie. A father demanding my silence. And now this doctor. This kind. Sharpied woman. She was looking past the lie. Past my silence. She was seeing me. She was seeing my pain. For the first time. Someone had truly looked at me and asked the question I had always yearned to hear. Did someone do this to you? And she wasn't judging. She was offering a way out. The silence stretched between us. It was heavy. Full of unspoken truths. Full of my fear. Full of her patience. She didn't push. She just waited. Her eyes never leaving mine. I thought of Ryan. His rage. The kick. My mother's hiss. You'll ruin his future. The future that mattered more than me. I thought of the broken dishes. The dented walls. The fearful girlfriends. My own bruised arm. My own hidden tears. All those years of silence. All those years of being invisible. All those years of believing I was worth less. Something in me shifted. A tiny spark. Not of anger. Not yet. But of a desperate, quiet hope. A chance to finally be heard. To finally be seen. My throat was tight. My mouth was dry. The words felt huge. Monumental. Terrifying. But also strangely freeing. I took a deep, shaky breath. A shallow one. Because of the pain. But I took it. Then I whispered so softly. I almost didn't hear it myself. But Dr. Ross did. She leaned in slightly. Her gaze still steady. My brother, I said. The words were out. They hung in the air. Simple. Direct. True. And with them, something inside me felt like it had just taken its first real breath in a very long time. The words hung in the air. My brother. Simple. Direct. Terrifying. And in that moment, the world didn't end. The ceiling didn't collapse. Dr. Ross didn't recoil. She just nodded. A slow, steady nod. Her grip on my arm tightened, but it was still gentle, reassuring. Thank you for telling me, Sarah, she said, her voice full of a quiet strength. That took a lot of courage. Courage? I hadn't felt courageous. I felt terrified. Exposed. But hearing her say it, hearing someone acknowledge the weight of those words, it made something warm bloom in my chest. Right beside the sharp, aching pain. Dr. Ross didn't press for more details right then. She just explained what would happen next. As I said, I'm a mandated reporter. I have to file a report with Child Protective Services. Or in this case, Adult Protective Services since you're over 18, and with the police, It's the law. This is for your safety, Sarah, and to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. My heart hammered. Police. CPS. This was real. This was happening. The cover-up. The lie my parents had forced upon me. It was crumbling. And I was the one who had made it crumble. A fresh wave of panic washed over me. What would they say? What would they do? Doctor. Ross saw my fear. You don't have to do anything else right now. Sarah. Just rest. We'll handle the reporting. She left the room a few minutes later. The door clicked shut. I was alone again. But this time the silence was different. It wasn't the suffocating silence of years of unspoken pain. It was a buzzing, vibrating silence. The calm before a storm. A storm that I had just unleashed. The next few hours were a blur. Nurses came and went. They gave me more pain medication. I drifted in and out of sleep. Each time I woke, the fear was there. A cold knot in my stomach. What would happen when my parents came back? What would happen when they found out? They found out. They came in the late afternoon. My mother, Karen, walked in first. Her face was tight. Her eyes were hard. My father, David, followed close behind. His jaw was set. His lips were a thin, grim line. They both looked like they had just walked into a nightmare. A nightmare they blamed me for. My mother approached the bed. Her voice was low, trembling with a controlled fury. Sarah, what did you do? I didn't answer. I just looked at her. Her eyes held no compassion, only accusation. The hospital called us, my father stated, his voice flat and cold. They said you told them Ryan did this. My stomach dropped. The cold knot tightened. My heart pounded. I still couldn't speak. Just then, there was a knock on the door. 2 police officers stepped in. A man and a woman. They were in uniform. Their presence immediately changed the atmosphere in the room. It became formal, official, dangerous. My parents stiffened. My mother gasped. A small, choked sound. My father's face went white. The female officer, her voice calm and professional, addressed me. Sarah Evans. We're here because we received a report regarding an assault. We understand you told Dr. Ross that your brother Ryan Evans was responsible for your injuries. She looked at me. Waited. My parents looked at me, too. Their eyes were burning holes into me. My mother's face twisted. A mask of pure rage and disbelief. My father's eyes were narrowed, his mouth agape. I looked at the officers, then at my parents. The choice was clear. Lie again. Protect them. Protect him. Or speak my truth. Finally, I took another shallow breath. The pain was there. Always there. But something else was there, too. A flicker of defiance. A stubborn, quiet refusal to go back into the dark. Yes, I said. My voice was still weak, but it was clear and it was steady. That's what happened. My mother shrieked. It wasn't a word. It was a raw, guttural sound of pure, unadulterated fury and despair. Sarah, how could you? You ruined him. You ruined his future. Her face was red, contorted. She looked like she hated me. She looked like she wanted to hurt me herself. My father stepped forward. His voice was a harsh, venomous hiss, low enough that the officers might not hear every word, but loud enough for me. You selfish. You ruined everything. Do you have any idea what this means for his scholarship? For his contract? For us? The officers immediately stepped in between my parents and me. Ma'am. Sir. Please calm down. The male officer said firmly. We need to speak with Sarah. And we'll need to speak with you both separately. My mother was still trembling, pointing a shaking finger at me. She's lying. She fell. She tripped. She's always been so dramatic. She's just jealous of Ryan. I looked at her. Her face. A roadmap of betrayal. My father. His eyes filled with such cold, pure hatred. This was their love. This was their family. This was me finally speaking my truth and being repaid with their utter complete disgust. But amidst the raw pain of their words, a strange calm settled over me. Their outrage, their betrayal. It was just confirmation. Confirmation of everything I had always known. Deep down, I wasn't their child. I was a collateral casualty, an inconvenience, a problem to be managed. Or in this case, destroyed. Their words meant to hurt me only solidified my resolve. They wanted me to regret telling the truth. They wanted me to go back to being silent. But I couldn't. Not anymore. The words were out. The truth was spoken. And even if it cost me everything, I wouldn't take them back. The officers escorted my parents out of the room. The door closed. I was left alone again. The silence returned. But this time it was different. It was heavy with the echo of their hatred, but also with the fragile new sound of my own voice. The next few days were a blur of official visits and whispered conversations. While still in the hospital, I spoke with the police again. I spoke with a kind woman from Adult Protective Services. Each time I told my story slowly, clearly. My voice, though still weak from pain, grew a little stronger with each retelling. My parents were not allowed back in my room without an officer present. They tried to send messages through nurses, apologies laced with demands, promises of making things right, meaning making me recant. I refused. I just shook my head. Doctor, Ross visited me every day. She wasn't just my doctor anymore. She was an ally, a quiet source of strength. She listened. She offered practical advice. You don't have to go back there, Sarah, she said gently one afternoon. There are programs, places for you to go. Her words planted a seed. A radical thought. Leave. Walk away. When I was discharged from the hospital, my parents were waiting outside my room. Their faces were grim, still full of anger, but also a desperate pleading edge. My mother tried to embrace me. I stiffened, pulled away. The contact was abhorrent. Sarah, please, she choked out. Come home. We can fix this. We can say it was all a misunderstanding. Ryan is so sorry. Was Ryan sorry for hitting me? For kicking me until my ribs broke? Or for getting caught? My father tried a different tactic. Sarah, don't be foolish. Where will you go? You have nothing. This is your family. You belong with us. I looked at them. Really looked. Not as my parents, but as the people who had sacrificed me for their golden son. The people who had demanded my silence. My pain. My very existence. I don't belong with you, I said. My voice was clear. Stronger than I thought it could be. Not anymore. I quietly walked past them. My small suitcase, packed by a kind nurse at Dr. Ross's request, was waiting for me at the discharge desk. I picked it up. It was light. Just a few clothes. A toothbrush. Not much to show for 27 years of life in their home. With Dr. Ross's help, I secured an apartment. It wasn't fancy. It was small in a part of town I didn't know. Well, but it was clean. It was safe. And it was mine. It was part of a shelter program for victims of domestic violence. The irony was sharp. I wasn't a wife. I was a daughter. But the violence was the same. The betrayal was the same. The first night in my new apartment, I sat on the floor, surrounded by nothing but the unfamiliar silence. No slamming doors. No shouted arguments. No tension radiating from Ryan's room. Just quiet. It was both unsettling and profoundly peaceful. I cried then. Not from pain. Not from fear. But from a deep, aching release. For the first time in my life, I was truly alone. And for the first time, that felt like freedom. I didn't stop there. Dr. Ross had given me more resources. A list of lawyers, social workers, support groups. I called the pro bono lawyer she recommended. Laura. Laura was sharp, direct. She listened to my story without judgment, without flinching. Sarah, what you've experienced is a crime, Laura said to me on our first call. And you have every right to seek justice. Not just criminal charges against Ryan, but civil damages as well. A lawsuit. The thought was daunting, scary, but also empowering. It was another way to speak. Another way to refuse to be silent. Another way to reclaim what was taken from me. I agreed. Laura filed a civil suit against Ryan for damages. For my medical bills. For my lost wages. For my pain and suffering. The news hit my family like a bomb. My mother called me screaming, crying, begging me to drop it. My father sent me a furious email threatening to disown me. I didn't answer. I changed my phone number. I blocked their puffet emails. Meanwhile, the police investigation moved forward. Ryan was charged with assault. The evidence was overwhelming. My testimony. Dr. Wees. Ross's detailed medical report. Even the faint old dents in Ryan's bedroom wall that the police discovered during their visit to the house. Subtle but telling evidence of a pattern of violence. The civil lawsuit ran parallel. The discovery phase. Depositions. Laura was relentless. She dug into Ryan's past. His previous minor run-ins with the law. His history of outbursts. His coaches were forced to testify. His former girlfriends. It was all laid bare. The truth that my family had so desperately tried to hide. The impact was swift and brutal for Ryan. His university rescinded his scholarship. His professional baseball contract, which he had been so close to signing, was withdrawn. Sponsors dropped him. His future. The golden future my parents had protected at all costs. Crumbled. Not because I had ruined it, but because he had. By his own hands. By his own choices. I felt a strange mix of emotions. Not triumph. Not real joy. More like a quiet vindication. It wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. About consequences. About the world finally seeing what I had seen all along. The reality of who Ryan was. And the reality of what my family had enabled. I also filed for a restraining order against Ryan. It was a terrifying step to formally declare that my own brother was a danger to me. But it was necessary for my safety. For my peace. For my future. The court granted it another layer of protection. Another brick in the wall I was building around myself. A wall not of silence but of boundaries. Of self-preservation. Walking away was the hardest thing I had ever done. It felt like tearing a limb from my own body. The ties of family, no matter how toxic, run deep. But it was also the most essential. It was the first step on a new path. A path towards healing. Towards finding my own voice. Towards building a life where my safety, my truth, and my well-being mattered. A life where I was no longer invisible. Life after leaving was a slow, deliberate rebuilding. My apartment became my sanctuary. The quiet, once unsettling, became comforting. I started therapy. Weekly sessions. It was hard work. excavating years of buried emotions, of gaslighting, of self-blame. My therapist, Dr. Chen, was patient. She helped me understand that I wasn't responsible for Ryan's actions, that my parents' neglect wasn't my fault, that their definition of love was twisted. Your worth is not tied to their approval, Sarah, she would say gently. Your voice matters. Your story matters. I started going to a support group for survivors of family abuse. Hearing other people's stories, their pain, their resilience was incredibly powerful. I wasn't alone. My experiences, once so isolating, were shared. We understood each other without needing many words. We simply saw each other. I also went back to my art. It had been years since I truly allowed myself to create. Drawing, painting, sculpting. It was a release. A way to process emotions that words couldn't quite capture. I painted vibrant, chaotic pieces, dark, quiet ones. It was all a part of my healing, my journey. The civil lawsuit against Ryan continued. It was a long process. The depositions were grueling. Seeing Ryan again, even on a video screen, filled me with dread. His lawyers tried to paint me as a liar, as a vindictive sister. But Laura, my lawyer, it was formidable. She tore through their arguments. She presented the facts, the medical evidence, the pattern of behavior. In the end, we won. Ryan was found liable for damages. It wasn't a huge sum of money, but it was significant. More importantly, it was a public declaration, a judgment. He was held accountable. It wasn't just my word against his anymore. The legal system finally saw the truth. The money, when it came, felt strange in my hands. It wasn't about the money. It was about what it represented. Justice. Validation. It allowed me to move from the shelter program apartment into a slightly larger place. Still small, but it felt even more like my own. A fresh start. With my own healing journey, a new purpose began to emerge. I saw so many other quiet girls. Girls like me. Girls who had been told to stay silent. Girls who felt invisible. I wanted to help them. I wanted to give them the voice I had almost lost forever. I started a nonprofit. I called it The Quiet Should Speak. It was a simple name, but it held so much meaning for me. Our mission was to provide support, resources, and a safe space for young women who had experienced family neglect, emotional abuse, or had their voices silenced. We offered therapy referrals, legal guidance, and most importantly, a community where they felt heard and seen. It started small. Just me, a few volunteers, and a tiny rented office space. We held workshops, support circles. We partnered with local schools and social services. It grew slowly at first. Then, with increasing momentum, the stories I heard from these girls, their pain, their resilience, fueled me. It reminded me why I was doing this, why my voice mattered, why their voices mattered. Months after the lawsuit, after Ryan's life had publicly unraveled, I was hosting one of our public awareness events. It was a local community center filled with people, supporters, young women, my volunteers. I was speaking about the importance of breaking the cycle of silence. I was telling a version of my own story without naming names, but sharing the emotional truth. Suddenly, the doors at the back of the room burst open. My heart seized. Everyone turned. It was Ryan. He was disheveled. His clothes were rumpled. His eyes were wild. His face was red, contorted with a familiar and way, terrifying rage. The golden boy was gone, replaced by the man who had broken me. He stormed down the aisle, pushing past people. His voice was loud, slurred, full of venom. You did this to me. You ruined my life. You took everything from me. He pointed a shaking finger at me. His eyes were blazing with hatred. The hatred my parents had shown me in that hospital. The hush fell over the room. Everyone looked at me. My volunteers gasped. Some of the younger girls looked frightened. My heart hammered against my chest. A primal fear. The old familiar fear. I wanted to run, to hide, to become invisible again. But then I saw the faces of the young women in the room. Their eyes on me. Their hope. Their vulnerability. I thought of Dr. Block. Ross. Her quiet strength. I thought of Laura. Her unwavering belief in my truth. I thought of all the years of silence. All the pain. And something shifted in me again. A powerful, unyielding resolve. I wouldn't run. I wouldn't hide. Not anymore. I had found my voice, and I would use it. I took a deep breath. My voice, though still trembling slightly, was clear, and it was steady. I looked directly at Ryan, and then I looked at the audience. "This is the man who broke my ribs," I said. Each word was deliberate, full of a quiet power. This is the man my family protected. I paused. Let the words sink in. And this is the family who told me to stay quiet. The words hung in the air. A profound silence fell over the room. Ryan froze. His face for a split second registered shock. Then fury. He lunged forward. But security was already there. Two large men who had been discreetly placed at the event moved swiftly. They intercepted Ryan before he could reach the stage. They grabbed his arms. He struggled, shouted more obscenities. His words were slurred, incoherent. He was a pathetic, broken figure. A ghost of the golden boy he once was. Security escorted Ryan out of the room. He fought them every step of the way, his shouts echoing down the hallway until the doors swung shut. muffling his rage. The air in the room slowly settled. The tension began to dissipate. I stood there still on the stage. My legs were shaking. My heart was still pounding. But I hadn't moved. I hadn't flinched. I had faced him. And I had spoken my truth publicly. Unapologetically. People in the audience began to clap slowly at first. Then louder. A wave of applause. It wasn't just for me. It was for the truth. For courage. For breaking the silence. Many of the young women in the front row were crying. Some came up to the stage. They hugged me. They thanked me. Their eyes full of understanding. I never went back to my family. Not to their house. Not to their lies. Not to their demands for silence. My parents made a few more attempts to contact me. Emails. Letters filled with a mix of recrimination and half-hearted apologies that always felt conditional. Always about what I had done to them. To Ryan. I didn't respond. I had built my wall. And it held. I didn't need their apologies. Not anymore. I didn't need their love. I had found something far more valuable. I had peace. A quiet, profound peace that settled deep in my bones. Where the pain of my broken ribs once screamed. The physical scars faded. The emotional scars remained. But they no longer defined me. They were part of my story. Part of my strength. My nonprofit. The Quiet Should Speak. Thrived. It became my family. The young women we helped. The dedicated volunteers. The community of survivors. They were my chosen family. A family built on empathy, truth, and mutual support. We celebrated each other's voices. We healed together. We empowered each other. I had my program, my mission, my purpose, and I had my voice. It wasn't just a whisper anymore. It was a clear, steady voice. A voice that had been silenced for too long. A voice that now spoke for others. A voice that mattered. If you've ever been told to stay quiet after being hurt, don't speak. Your voice matters. Don't let anyone diminish your pain or demand your silence. If this story touched you, please like, subscribe, and share it. Let's work together to make sure no one has to suffer in silence again and show them that the